Hello and welcome to The Zach Brown Show, the show that introduces you to old friends for the first time. I'm your host, Zach Brown. On this episode, I talk with Jason Canapp. We discuss early vacation memories, the origins of Here with the Magic, and why you never pass up the opportunity to eat pancakes with Michael McDonald. All that and more, coming up.
The Zach Brown Show is brought to you by
Lucky McBoing's Berry Blast Bubble Bath. Fun to say, fun to play.
and
Bitterman's Miracle Mage Bone. Your dog is just itching to get it.
Hey, pal.
how's it going?
Good. So I wanted to talk to you a little more in depth. We've had you on the show before, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about what you do, what we do. And that is, well, first, let me just back up. Jason, welcome to the show.
I'm really not clear where the edges of this thing begin and end. So
It's
I think
just
we're
a
in it,
stream
though.
of
I feel like we're in the
consciousness.
thick of it now. I think it's it. Yeah, we're in
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So for those who have not listened to the episode entitled Bringing the Magic Home, folks, this is Jason Canapp of Here with the Magic, amongst many other things, but predominantly Here with the Magic. So Jason, the folks, Jason.
Well, hello. That was a good episode. We did that at the Grand Floridian at Enchanted Rose, if I remember correctly.
We did. And I remember we were fighting the dumping bucket raining ever so frequently.
It made for a good background sound.
Oh, it was very ambient.
After
I mean,
the fact, yeah.
you couldn't deny the fact that we were on location filming there. It wasn't like, oh, they're lying about where they are. No, like there was clearly a water pool play area just over the railing.
I remember being impressed with how nonchalant you were about like setting this all up in a very public space. And because you had your Yeti microphone with you, and you had like your stuff, and you said, and I'm sure in my memory it's much more extravagant than what it actually was. But
Which is the best.
We were sitting down there, and there's people around, and so you're just like and you're in interview mode, so you kind of have that. Well, here I am here with Jason, blah 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 blah, and I was like, wow, look at him go. He's just like. He doesn't even care. My little, anxious Jason brain starts kicking in, and I'm like, "It's okay, people. Don't look. It's fine."
Yeah, and I'm just like, we're doing our thing, not even caring that there's anybody around.
It was good. It was
fun.
good.
So now we're in a bit of a more controlled setting, so we can just talk and not worry about dumping buckets.
I can generate some sound effects if you'd like. I do have various things here.
I just want to know that, like, off to the side of your studio, you just have like buckets of water just to like dump over every few minutes.
So I did 1 year of law school. And the thing about law school is that it's Socratic method based largely. And so it gets scary because each professor has a different way of calling on students.
Okay.
Some have a system that's based on a seating chart. And so you kind of know when your number's up. So you got to be prepared. And usually what happens is when it's your time, and it's not lost on me that I'm speaking of this as if it's death, because that's what it feels like. Because you're 1L and you're in this class, and you realize that you're probably the dumbest person in the class. And so when they call on you, you need to know everything there is to know about that particular case that you're talking about that day.
I just want to ask really quick, is this going back to buckets of water?
Yeah. Of course it is.
I'm with you.
So we're doing this. So like my defense, if I wasn't prepared, because also sometimes you didn't know whether you're going to get called on or not. My defense is that I always had a bottle of water sitting on my little desk, next to my laptop. Because this was early in the days of laptop. Most people didn't have laptops, actually. That tells you how old I am. At least not in school, they didn't. And I would have it just sort of sitting there. If I didn't know if I hadn't felt comfortable or maybe hadn't fully briefed the case, I would be prepared to spill the water and create enough of a scene and enough of a scene
that they would move on. They would
find me pitiful and say, oh, like, oh,
We'll come
no, go ahead. Yeah, we'll come to you tomorrow. I never had to deploy this. It got close a couple of times.
I just love that was in your arsenal. Like, of all the things to get out, you're like, this is my escape water.
Oh yeah.
Good.
I'm not going to, I've had this. It's not the only time I've had that at the ready. I won't disclose, just to protect the innocent. I won't disclose who or what other situations I've used this in.
Now, anytime that I'm with you, I'm going to question every bottle of water that you're ever holding. I'm just
now I'm in a position, like I'm much more in control of things that are expected of me at this point. And so now I don't feel like I need it as much. Now I'm just looking for other people with bottles of water. Like,
That's their escape bottle?
Their escape bottle. Yeah. It's like, some people have grenade buddies and other people have escape bottles. Yeah. So no, I don't have any buckets of water, but I do have a thing of iced tea and I almost empty 7-Up Zero. So
good for those of you keeping score at home.
In case you need that. You'll just tell me when we're going to begin recording, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when did you? Okay, so you did a year of law. Was that something that you wanted to do?
Oh, we're going back to that.
Well, we're
okay.
I hadn't planned on it, but here
people
we are.
They love this origin stories.
Right. I am all about the origin story because it brings the now, I think, much more into focus to go, So so let's talk about the why of how we got to where we are. So the 1 year of law school, did you just go, this is not for me?
No, of course not. Like the way I tell the story now is typically, the way I tell the story now is so much shortened that it seems like I just discovered, I don't want to be an attorney. And there was that piece of it, but I don't think I ever really wanted to be an attorney anyway. It was a means to an end for me. I was on this political track. I'd worked on Capitol Hill for 5 years after college. And then I was doing law school because that's what you did. That's what you did. I was surrounded for years by people who either had MBAs or were attorneys. And so I went through the law school route and I did okay. But we ended up moving back because I was in San Francisco. Michelle and I were in San Francisco. We ended up moving back to Maryland where we had a house still.
Okay.
And I got a summer job in Maryland because that's a big thing. Like the summer job after your first year of law school that's a big deal. It usually kind of sets the direction of where you're going to go. Mm-hmm. And I got a job working in the governor's office in Maryland, specifically in the policy shop of the lieutenant governor, who at the time was Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, who was Robert F. Kennedy's daughter, just for the history buffs out there. And it was focusing on crime control, and it was great. And I was doing policy work, and I'm like, this is kind of like, this is what I really want to be doing anyway. This kind of stuff. That's what I thought. And I decided I was going to transfer to University of Maryland for law school, but I was going to take that first semester. I wasn't going to go back quite yet because, I'm working. And they offered me a job. So at the end of the summer, they actually offered me a job. Okay, I'll take some more time off. And then in Maryland, the legislative session runs from January to April-ish. And so it's like, it doesn't make sense to start now. And I just never went back. Because I just thought, I don't really want to do that anyway. But I also didn't want to work in the government forever because it gets so frustrating because you just work and work and work at getting consensus and getting, alliances and getting drawing people together to do things. And then an election happens and then the whole the sand shift out from under your feet. And so then you have to start over. So getting anything of meaning done takes a lot of time and just a lot of luck. Mm-hmm. And so I had started my MBA. I had started an MBA program while I was working there, and I was also doing work in the community. And I realized that you can actually, like in the private sector, you can just make stuff happen. Things happen. And we had this consulting gig as part of the school, as part of the class, one of the classes. And that was a cool experience because we came up with these ideas and we gave them to the business, and the business owner said, "Oh, this is great." And the next day they started doing it. And I never had that experience in my life where I had suggested something and actually somebody did it the next day. Never, ever. It was weird. It was really weird, but powerful. Right. Yeah. So then I got out of that and started doing consulting work, started like a small business consulting thing with a friend of mine from business school that failed miserably because our model was just stupid. It was done. It was like, oh, we're going to like have this high touch, like super customized consulting business. But we're going to really focus on small businesses and non-for-profits and all the people who basically either can't afford us or are like so messed up that they don't even know that they need us, kind of thing. Like, so
that was your audience?
Maybe it turns out that was like, yeah, maybe, and it would have worked great. Like looking back on it, I think if we had like applied for grant money to do this kind of work, especially in, economically sort of wear-worn communities, I think like there's definitely stuff we could have done. The business, like when there's little Main Street businesses and stuff in neighborhoods that are trying to redevelop. But my brother, who's a veterinary surgeon, he and his wife, who's a veterinarian, they were looking to start their own thing. Long story short. And he came to me and was like, "Hey, you have an MBA. Can you help me put this plan together?" And then like a year later, I was working with him. And that was kind of how I got sucked into the veterinary industry, which is kind of where that's been my day job type thing for 15, almost 16 years now, is doing that stuff. No, with my brother, I can't work with him because number one, he's an older brother. Number two, he's a surgeon.
Okay.
And number three, he's an older brother. Like I can't, it's like, I love him.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He sucks also because he's like really good at anything he does, like the first time. And it just makes me angry. And then, so when I work with him, it's like, we can achieve these great things, but at the same time, I'm also irritated with him all the time. Because like, why do you have to just be good? Like, why? And he's good looking and no, can't do it.
So, I can't work with you. You're good looking.
I love you, but no. But it's been a really good industry to be in, and because I like animals and mostly dogs, and I've been able to, as I've said to a lot of my friends who I went through the MBA program with, I've had the great fortune of being able to use my training, like the full suite of tools from training. Like that, most people specialize. They come out and they do the HR thing, or they do the finance thing, or the accounting thing, or the marketing thing, or the management thing, or the entrepreneurship thing. And I've just been able to do everything, just because of the stuff that I've worked on, and then that's been great. But that has nothing to do with why we're talking about me.
Well,
that has
in some ways, it's part of who you are. Like, it's like an Inside Out when they've got all the little islands of the parts of you. Like, that is one island. It's like the MBA island.
It's a messed up island.
It's a very cluttered thing over there with lots of things. And
lots of sticky notes.
Yeah. When there's a back corner where your brother was and he's just waving like, hi.
On a spring.
Yeah. So then let's go on another bridge to another aspect of you. And that is your love of Disney. Which is a part of you. So what is your earliest?
Disney Island's great.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. And we love talking about that on the show. It's a very repetitive, recurring theme on this show. For it not being a Disney show, we do end up talking about it a lot. So let's talk about like your earliest memories, like when you think back of those things that like where this love started, what are some of those memories? Like, I think those are super key, and our earliest memories are very key in what we do, because I think it sets us up, like our fears, our successes, the simple joys, the simple things that we really, really like. So your earliest foundations of your Disney journey or your memories, what are some of those?
My earliest, well, it's mine are like in very neat piles because in terms
Which doesn't
of memories,
surprise me.
well, it's just there's so much distance between them. Like I have, like the first time I went was when I was 3 years old. The second time was when I was 13.
Well, let me pause you there. Were you guys like, were you a Disney family? Like, was it on the house? Like, did you watch the movies? Was it a deal? Because not everybody is that way. Like, they like the parks, but they don't care about the movies, or vice versa.
I wouldn't have characterized us as a Disney, like knowing what I know now.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have characterized us as a Disney family, but we did. I mean, it was present, but
Okay.
I was much more like if you had said, "Hey, you have to pick a genre of something and declare that as what kind of like household were you?" I mean, we would have been a Star Wars household, I guess, but
Okay.
like my parents weren't really into any of that stuff, and like so it just came. It's kind of stuck with me from when I was a little kid. When I was a little kid. And we went because we went with my grandparents on my father's side. And they had a camper that we drove down from Maryland. And
That's a haul.
it was, 1976. So there was only the Magic Kingdom, and we were in Fort Wilderness with the camper. But I don't really remember visiting the Polynesian, I don't think. I definitely remember visiting the Contemporary.
Okay.
I'm sure we did visit the Polynesian, but it's hard for me to separate. I don't have any memories that I can clearly say, oh, those are mine, as opposed to something I've seen
Or been told about.
Yeah. Contemporary for sure. But I like the monorail and so forth. The campfire with Chip and Dale, the campfire sing along.
Yeah.
There wasn't a movie. You didn't watch a movie then. It was just,
Right.
just had the sing
There's
along.
just s'mores.
Yeah. Space Mountain, Mission to Mars. I can remember these things like they happened a few weeks ago. Like they're just that clear. Mostly because they were terrifying. Like Mission to Mars, I was genuinely concerned that we had gone to Mars, and it freaked me out. It really freaked me out. Space Mountain, I was way too young to even get on, but I got on, and there's that audio tape of me telling my grandfather that I went on Space Mountain and I had a heart attack, which is a weird thing for a 3-year-old to say, except that my other grandfather had a heart attack that year. So like I think it was in my like just like that, like a month earlier had a heart attack. So like I kind of like had that in my head. I'm sure my mother loved me saying that. Yeah. Like sure, diminish the seriousness of that. But I think but it stuck with me. Like I love that place. I loved the place. We had the brochures sitting around, and my mother had made several failed attempts to plan another trip back. It felt like, we got to go back, Kate, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And my father in this situation was Kate, I think, because and he just couldn't be convinced, or wouldn't take the time or spend the money or whatever for at least for another 10 years. But she was always kind of like planning. So there's always like, and I think this this resonates with a lot of people who don't go to Disney a lot, but they do plan for it.
Yeah.
Like it's a military mission. Like it's this thing. And she was kind of like this plan. She would plan to go all sorts of places that we never went. But I would have, this may be TMI, but I remember
we paused to consider and then went, we're going anyway.
Yeah, I mean, so in the bathroom, there was this, she had this vanity there. It was near the commode. And there would sometimes be brochures sitting on there, that vanity, and they were had these places. And I swear, I think I hadn't thought about this. I have not thought about this for decades, but I think that was part of my sort of armchair travel bug that kind of bit. It was this she would,
but it wasn't an armchair.
It was probably a strategy on her end. She probably left them there on purpose for my father to see them or something, hey,
subliminally
Yeah.
See that? It's like Ralphie in Christmas Story where he's putting like the Red Ryder BB gun thing in his mom's magazine.
Yes.
Oh,
exactly.
Look at this. We should do this thing.
Right. I mean, I learned all about Bermuda. I finally went along, like not with them, but like later. And so like I learned about these places we never went. But we did go back. We did go back to Walt Disney World in 1986. As part of,
You say 10 years later?
On 4th of July. Yeah, 10 years later.
Wow.
And I remember, so on that trip, I remember the thing that sticks out of me in my head, like is the freedom. Like I had freedom.
Okay.
It was, I was an 80s, like child of the 70s and 80s, because I was like the latchkey kid kind of, like my mom was home until she wasn't. And she, like a lot of moms, she went, back to work when the kids were old enough. And then, there was that period of years where like you have kind of this quasi freedom for at least 2 or 3 hours after school or whatever.
Yeah. It's 3 hours Disney in the Wild West.
In Disney World, it was great because my little brother, I have a brother who's 5 years younger and a brother who's 5 years older. And my brother who was 5 years younger, he had like a sitter with him.
Okay.
Like when my parents, and this probably happened like twice that week. We were in Walt Disney World. My parents probably went out to dinner or something. And then my younger brother had a sitter. And then my older brother wanted nothing to do with me. So it was off on his own, but probably had told my parents that he was going to watch me or be with me or whatever, but he wasn't. And so I was on my own in Walt Disney World at 13.
Just running around.
It was incredible. It was incredible. And I did all the things that like you would never expect a 13-year-old to do, like ride the People Mover and, sneak my way up to what they called it. It's not California Grill. It was top of the world at that point. But that overlook out there, the view, the observation deck. It's all reconfigured now in terms of how you get up there and everything, but it was a lot easier back then, I think, or maybe it was just easy for a 13-year-old. And I remember just going up there and just like standing up there and no one's up there and just looking at the Magic Kingdom and looking at Seven Seas Lagoon and just taking it all. And I'm getting chills just talking about it because I just remember this feeling like, oh my God, this place. And so I think there's this part, and it's not just Disney, like these like moments, whether you're, I think, it's common to experience them when you go camping or going out for a hike. If you go to a beach, if you like, there's lots of places you can go to where you can choose, you can have a different experience. You can either have that experience at the beach where you're surrounded by a lot of people and it's a kind of party atmosphere or just festive. And, it's just, it's very social. Or you can find yourself, you can go to a beach and be on your own. Yeah. And be by yourself. And it's very
how the same place
contemplative and
is a different experience based on how you're approaching it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing applies to being in the, I think in a city, in the city, you can, in an urban area, you can experience these things differently too. And so I've noticed over the years that I'm drawn to, I enjoy both, but I'm drawn to that more quiet, off the beaten path, just chill places. And I honestly can't tell you why, other than I think it's a survival mechanism. Like I think that my brain and personality are so like just wound up all the time that is what I think that is vacation for me.
Yeah.
Like just, I can like some of my favorite moments are, I remember walking in the woods when I lived in Colorado and going on a hike and just being out alone. Just walking through the forest, smelling the ponderosa pine and hearing the breeze, and especially if it had snowed, and then there's like that kind of mute. It's like I don't speak of it visually. It's like a matted sound. It's like a matted, muted.
Yeah.
landscape. It's just, everything's just hushed
Mhm.
and still. And it's kind of like walking to a sound studio that's kind of well insulated, right? I love that. And
do you think that comes from you being a middle child? Like the older brother, like you said, didn't want anything to do with you, and your younger brother's kind of being taken care of. So you have that freedom to run, but it's also kind of that, like, you are your own man. Do you think there's that feeling of just kind of like, I can kind of go do what I want?
Maybe. I honestly don't know. I almost don't care. Like, I think that it's that. Well, you also reach this point in your life. You'll get there where you say, I'm not interested in, like, I'm just like, this is just who I am now. And I think I like being able to turn it on and off. Like that's where I'm having more fun lately is because I think that even in our community, the community that you and I are sort of share and overlapping social groups and stuff. I think I'm sure that, because in Jason's paranoid brain, this is what happens. Like, as soon as I leave the room, people are, they think, like, who the heck, what is with that guy anyway? Like, because I do have this kind of weird, like, he's kind of sarcastic and sort of like maybe some high energy sometimes, and maybe just a little bit too much.
You're an enigma in shorts.
But in short, always in shorts. But at the same time, like, I kind of celebrate these quiet moments, and you'll see that, like in the lunch break, which we haven't talked about yet, but like that, I think like I will switch between those modes, like just fluidly, like it's, because that is who I am. It's this, like, I can be as excited as I can be a 3-year-old again.
Yeah. And knowing you as well as I do, I do find it fascinating. And I've watched you pivot. I mean, like, effortlessly to go where, there's
psychotically.
There's those people that are, they're an introvert, or they're an extrovert, or they're an extroverted introvert. And then it just goes from there. But it's amazing to watch you go from those spaces of being the guy out in the forefront and entertaining with the group and the whole deal, and then to just switch and be like, okay, and then not respond to a text for like hours and hours because you just shifted into quiet time. But I think that's incredible to do that to be able to throw that switch and then to be able to jump right back in. It's very you. I don't know many people that can do that.
I think it's survival. I don't think, and it's rude. I think, well, because I'm also the guy who won't answer the phone. Like, if you like, I can't tell you the last time I actually answered a call, which I probably can, because I can look at my history, right? I can literally look at my phone history right now, and I can go into recents, and I can see if like which ones have the little arrow pointing in, right? Where you can see the call coming in. And I'm scrolling. I'm still scrolling. Yep. Scrolling.
Hang tight. We'll be right back.
Enter into a world of pure ecstasy. Is it day? Is it night? We'll never tell. Leave your cares and better judgment behind. Flamingo. The Neon Flamingo is the place to be if where you really want to be is closed. Desperation. Get swept up in the rhythmic sounds of Dion Coulter and his Rainbow Machine. At the Neon Flamingo, all your dreams can come true, but only if you dream of dancing with a woman named Tammy. Join us on Tuesday nights for the Glow Raid and all-you-can-eat croutons at the Salad Bar. Yeah. The Neon Flamingo Dance Club. Mistakes will be made. Flamingo.
I don't have it. So so the history goes as far back to May 7th.
Mm-hmm.
This is far back, and I have no.
So over a month
answered. Yeah. I don't, because I'm the kind of person that I'm just going to do my thing. Mm-hmm. And my thing may be like talking to you right now. And my phones will do not disturb. And it's not just because we're recording, but if we were, we have conversations that aren't always on the record. Mm-hmm. Thank God. And I don't, how many times have I answered the phone or behind like, oh, there's a call coming in, I'm going to grab this. Sometimes somebody will text me multiple times, and I'm like, oh, I got to look and see what this is. But I like to give attention.
Definitely. I think maybe once in the last 6 months. And that was like literally like a house was on fire.
Or like, oh, if one of my kids is calling,
right.
Or, if Michelle's calling and then my wife, then I will answer the phone typically. But if you're listening, boys, you keep calling with nonsense, I'm not going to answer. No chance they're actually listening. No offense, no. Not because of you, but just because of me.
They're like, oh, we listen to every single episode religiously, but Dad's on this one. Never mind.
Correct. Right. They're like, Zach Brown. We love the Zach Brown show, but not that episode. It's like Meatloaf.
I'll listen to them all, but I won't listen to that one.
I won't do that. Exactly.
I love Meatloaf. Just side comment. That whole that song is okay. Let me say it, like as an artist, like whatever, but that song in particular is just fantastic. It's a really, really good song.
Okay.
It's just a side comment. Anyway, do with that with you.
I mean, he always freaked me out a little bit.
Oh, well, the guy's bizarre, but I'm just saying, like, as far as like that song. So let me very minutely say.
I put him in the same category as like Frank Zappa. Like there's a genius there. And it's kind of almost and some likability there too, but just something weird enough that I'm like, yeah, I don't. If you got invited to a party, I would like, no, I'm not going to go with that. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of that, we're so far down the rabbit hole, but we might as well.
Buckets of water.
I had the opportunity one time to go to a concert that was for Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers.
Oh yeah. Don't say no more. I love saying, Michael.
And then to go hang out with the band afterwards with Michael McDonald and the band, and to go have pancakes.
Stop it.
And I declined because I don't care for the Doobie Brothers, and I just felt that I didn't appreciate it enough to go. But I had an open invite to go get backstage, like literally like in the wings, sit and watch Michael McDonald and the band, and then go to like IHOP or Waffle House or whatever it was. I was like, I'm okay.
Wait, how did you know the IHOP thing was going to happen? Like, was that part of the ticket? Like, is this like special backstage pass plus IHOP?
A friend of mine's dad was in a band back in the day with this guy. And this guy is now, or was at least at the time, Michael McDonald's guitarist.
Okay.
And he was like, yeah, he's like, after the show, we're all going to go eat. And he's like, I think we're going to Waffle House or IHOP. He's like, it's right near the arena. And he's like, do you want to come? And he was like, you're more than welcome to come with us.
When was this?
Probably 4 or 5 years ago.
So wait, so was this to you or was this to your dad?
No. It was my friend's dad. Was
your friend's dad? Okay.
Who I'm also friends with, Okay. But I had the opportunity. But yeah, it's one of those stories. Like you hear about Prince that always he like offered to make people pancakes or waffles all the time.
Never heard that.
Yeah, apparently that was a thing. Anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust those pancakes.
But yeah, I had that opportunity. And I was just like, I'm good.
I don't understand. I'm looking. I mean, I of course I pulled up the Michael McDonald catalog.
I just don't get it. I'm sure.
What do you mean don't get it? I don't understand.
It's not my
like
deal.
Good things?
No, I love good things. I just have never gotten the Doobie Brothers sound.
How about Steely Dan?
That's fine. But I don't know. Michael McDonald, I'm sure he's a wonderful person, but just I don't get it. I just don't get it. It's not my deal.
You don't like yacht rock, is what you're saying?
No, I like Christopher Cross, and I like
what the heck?
The Eagles.
That whole genre. He's like
no, it's different. But he's his own. He's his own thing. Like David S. Pumpkins. He's his own thing.
I think Michael McDonald. He's a survivalist. I think he looks good for his age. I'll give him that. He's a gift to music because his ego doesn't prevent him from making other performers look really good and sound really good.
Okay.
He's done his, because he's been that background, backup vocals dude. I mean, actually, most of his career is built off of that.
Yeah.
And he's had the solo thing too, and he's done and he's written stuff, but he just persists. He kind of reminds me of a Barry Gibb kind of dude. Like, you know, he's.
Now I love Barry Gibb.
Why do you love Barry Gibb? Not just because of like the discovered falsetto. And I love the way he tells that story about how he kind of like didn't know he could do it. It was like baloney. He totally knew.
You knew how you do. That was something he's been doing since he was a kid.
Yeah.
No,
He
I
said that
love
you can
Barry
make
Gibb.
money doing it.
Phenomenal songwriter. Their songs are catchy.
Yeah.
The harmony.
Yeah.
It's just the tone. It's the overall. I don't apologize for what I am or my preferences. If Michael, if you're listening, I'm sure you're wonderful. It's
so
just not
sad.
my thing. Not for
I'm
me.
so sad that you didn't. That was lost on you. Like, that would have been great.
But I at least knew enough to say I wouldn't appreciate this enough. So let somebody go who really would appreciate this.
I was trying to figure out what he was doing 5 years ago.
He was on tour. He's just, like,
I
was at a
know.
little venue in Pensacola at the center.
Yeah, 2017. McDonald was featured together with Kenny Loggins on Thundercat's single "Show You the Way," including
Kenny
the
Loggins
latter's
was not there.
album "Drunk." In June 2017, McDonald, Loggins, and Thundercat performed the song together on the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. And in 2018, he had appeared as a guest vocalist on the song "What the World Needs Now" on Barbra Streisand's album.
Babs?
Yes. You don't know what kind of here. Okay, so here, I'm gonna give you a little lesson, Padawan. Most of success is being in the room. It's about being in the room.
Mhm.
Like, doesn't matter what your role is. It doesn't matter that you don't have anything to do. It doesn't matter that you don't even like love the dude or whatever, like it's music or whatever. It's Michael freaking McDonald, right? So if you get invited to the Pancake House with Michael, you go because you don't know where that leads. You don't know. They say, oh, wait, you do stuff. You do this thing. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, you know what? You should call this guy. I'll connect you to this person. You always get the pancakes with Michael McDonald. Oh, my goodness. You're lucky I didn't know you then. I would have shaken you like I was going to say like a baby. I can't say that. That's not right.
I feel like that should be the episode title. It's just you always get the pancakes with Michael McDonald.
What are you doing? The answer is always yes. Hey, you want to go to Pancakes with Michael McDonald? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Next time they call, if they call, promise I'll take it.
Right.
Hey, can my friend Jason come?
I'm okay. I'm good. No,
Hey, Jason doesn't want to come.
I got too much. I don't need any more projects. I can't take anything else on. I'm sorry. I'll go just to hang out. Yeah, but I can't.
He doesn't come to the show. He's like,
I actually don't even like pancakes really.
Can I just have a bowl of syrup, please? I really don't need the pancakes.
I
just
usually
want to be
get the
here.
eggs. I'm an eggs person.
Okay.
I get the eggs. If we go to Denny's or we go to Pancake House or Waffle House, or something, I'm an eggs person. Yeah. That's
no waffles, no pancakes?
I don't really get into it.
All right.
They're fine. I don't dislike them. I'm not like some people we know who would be like, but I'm not. I never have a hankering for pancakes. If there's a plate of pancakes sitting in front of me and I'm hungry, I will eat some, but I'm not like, I don't wake up like, who made pancakes? Now bacon, on the other hand.
Bacon is a magical experience.
Yeah. Bacon.
Yeah.
Bacon's incredible.
I'm
But anyway,
trying to figure out how to connect this.
we were exploring, I think
This whole thing is off the rails.
The psychosis of my middle child syndrome.
This started with saying that you went off when you were 13 by yourself.
By myself.
And we ended up eating pancakes, not eating pancakes with Michael McDonald.
We should have. Yeah. That would have been great. I don't know. I think that like as an adult, I recognize, and especially somebody who's had like the business training. I think that one of the things that draws me to Disney, not just intellectually but emotionally, is that there's something just really cool about an organization, for-profit organization, that is all about just making people happy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all about making money. I mean, the bottom line matters, right?
Yeah.
So that it is what it is in that regard. But the way
their
they do
import
it,
is money, their export is happiness.
and that's the name of the game. If they're not making people happy, then they're not going to make money. And so their job is to make people happy. And you can argue one way or the other as to whether they're doing it the right way or the wrong way, or they're doing enough people, or doing, for the right people, or whatever. They're an imperfect company
Because they're humans.
Made up, comprised of imperfect people, right? And but I think it still maintains the core focus of its origins, and that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome and what people will do, like Imagineers, in terms of just creating these little moments and places and details, so that just no one's going to see.
Yeah,
most people aren't going to see or aren't going to appreciate it, but you do it because it's the right thing to do, because it's incomplete without it.
Yeah.
And that resonates for me. That resonates in business, and it resonates in my personal life. And I remember having this conversation with Lou Mangello back in. It was the first like conversation I had ever had with Lou Mangello. Actually, it was in like February of 2019.
Okay.
And it was related to, I think I had told him, like, I'm going to come to the Momentum retreat thing. And he said, like, what do you, and I remember, because it was, Illuminations had just finished, and we were in Epcot, obviously. And clearly he was intending to just stick around until they told him he had to leave, like, sorry, you got to go, kind of thing. And so and I thought that was awesome. I'm like, oh my God, just like, we're literally going to get kicked out of here, but I would never do this by myself, but here we are. And I told him about this, and he said, like, what are you interested in doing? And I said, I actually have no idea, but I know that for my next act, in terms of my career, I want to make people happy. Like, I want to be focused on bringing people joy. And I know, and right now I do that sometimes indirectly, because I think that it's like, there's a powerful, like, in business and entrepreneurship, it can be a powerful tool of good, in terms of being able to improve people's lives and make things possible for people. And, from a management standpoint, recognizing that how people feel at the end of the day literally will impact how they treat their family when they go home, or their significant other, or their friends. And that we as business leaders have a role to play in actually filling the well, and it's a balanced role, but that's an important component of it. But it's indirect. It's not so obvious in the way that Disney's piece is obvious. Like, we're going to make stuff and experiences that make people happy and keep them coming back. And so that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I was expressing to Lou at that time. And I had no idea what it would turn into, or that the video thing would become my focus, or that we do on lunch breaks or way off in the distance. And, but that, like, but it's always been there. That part of me is always, it's kind of always been there. And being in the space, being like in the Disney, like, not just physically in the space, or like in the parks, or even in Orlando, but being in the space in terms of, like, anytime I'm consuming something related to Disney, whether it's listening to a podcast about Disney, or watching a movie or a documentary or something, that there's resonance. There's resonance there. And that's kind of what's, I don't know. I think that's what's drawn me throughout my life.
Yeah.
To keep coming back to that. It's that, this really feels good. It's like that people are actually trying, like, they're deliberately trying to make me happy.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice. It's like going to get a massage. Like, it's like,
This experience is all about making me happy.
This is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Do that again. Yeah.
And so what was his response? What was his when you were like, my next move is I want to make people happy. This is what this place does. What did he say to you?
Okay. I mean, I'm just
good.
It's Lou,
that's admirable.
It was. I wasn't really looking for his advice at the time. It was just kind of. I wasn't even ready for that question. Just he said it, and I said, "Well, I'm gonna make people happy." I think that's what I want to do. What do you say when you're in your 40s and somebody says, "What do you do? What do you want to do when you grow up?" You're like,
"Yeah,
I just want to make people happy." And
it's admirable.
It was. Yeah, and the video thing was just like it was weird. I mean, it was
most people. I feel like most things that are going on right now are. I don't want to say they're something that people came up with because they had nothing to do during a pandemic and lockdown, but a lot of what you've done has been thrust to the front because of that. But you were making videos before all that, fortunately. So were you already kind of geared towards video? Did you enjoy that? Or were you just kind of like, I think I'm going to start recording this. Like, was that part of your process of making people happy? Or did you just start videoing for the sake of videoing? That's multiple questions, but you know what I mean.
I don't know. I think I've not been like, I'm not a videographer, but like there have been times in my life where I've done things, we've gone on trips. And I've taken a video camera with me. This is like pre-iPhone days, and and documented it and stuff. And I don't know. I never considered myself like in the business of making videos or anything like that. What I realized, like what I wanted was to, I was interested in just capturing these moments for me. And I remember getting this contraption, and I honestly can't remember, like is lost in my brain somewhere in terms of the why I did this. But like, I just remember being inspired. I wanted to take video specifically of Bay Lake from Geyser Point.
Okay.
And I wanted to take, and I just wanted to, and it was, and I remember, so the general inspiration for this was from the CBS Sunday morning show, which I've always enjoyed that show, even since I was like an adult as a kid. But my favorite part of the show is at the very end where they have this, they just like, after they've covered all these news stories and all these different things and some tragedies and successes and blah, blah, blah. They just have this, not even 30-second moment. It's like a 20-second moment somewhere in nature, like somewhere, like sometimes they're in the wilderness looking at wolves and little like baby wolves. And I don't know what you call it, baby wolf. I don't know what you call it, a pup or I don't know. I should know that, but we don't treat wolves, so I don't know. Or they'll be at the ocean, and here's the gulls, or they'll be at the lake and the little otters swimming, like whatever it is, like they're just out there in the nature somewhere. It's kind of like, but this like a little amuse-bouche kind of thing. And when I was going back to like the 90s, I was really into these soundscapes.
Yeah.
Like these, you get these CDs that were just sort of, they're just soundscapes.
Yeah.
Love the, like, oh, here's the lake.
And
distant
thunder.
Like 6 discs of like a lake at various stages of the day. I don't know. Like it's crazy, mind numbing.
Track 14, lake at 2:00.
Like, listen to that duck. You hear it? Like, I love that stuff. Right. And thunderstorms and things. And so I think there's this part of me that's kind of drawn to that stuff, obviously, like these quiet moments and peaceful moments. And I recognized that, that exists here in Disney. And so I wanted to capture this moment because there was a moment I had sitting outside Geyser Point, staring at Bay Lake. It was beautiful. Like this is like one of those moments I need to capture this. And then I had seen this device that you could put your iPhone in, and it would like do like you could like have it. It would do like a slow pan. It's kind of like it's like a gimbal, but it's like a monster of a gimbal, and it's not really easy to carry around. But the thing that does really well is that you can control like the pan and stuff like so you can make these like very cinematic like effects,
big sweeps across.
Yeah, and you can do some stuff with, like if you're doing time lapse, if you want to do like time lapse but also move the camera at the same time, it has to be super steady. Like it does stuff like that. I've only used it like 3 times. Literally 3 times.
Okay.
But that's how this started. And I remember having this, I was doing this at Geyser Point, and Kenneth Johnson came to join me, because Ken's the kind of guy, like if you say, hey, I'm going to Geyser Point, want to join me? He'll be like, okay. Oh, always in. He's always in. If Michael McDonald called him, he's going to the Pancake House. Like, doesn't matter.
Kenneth's there.
He's there. So it's great that way. It's kind of like Carlos. You know, Carlos is like one of those guys. What time do you want me? He'll drive from Miami.
Right. I was gonna say he's like 4 hours away, or 3, however far Miami is.
I kid you not. We could call him live right now. I could say, Carlos, I have dinner reservations at insert restaurant here. Like really would like you to come. I mean, I just have to say this because it's today. I'd have to lay it on just a little bit. Be like, dude, it's really important. It would really mean a lot if you could be there. I'm driving now. So he would be out the door. Yeah, I'm going now. Say no more. Right. So anyway, I'm there. We're doing this thing. We're eating. I'm filming. And he says, like, what are you going to do with this video?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know. I'm going to upload. I don't know. Like, and I think he was the one who said, I think you should upload it to YouTube because there's probably other people who would enjoy that. I was like, yeah, okay. And it was on the heels of that I started like looking at stuff. And then I realized that there were this confluence. This was May of 2019. And another couple important things happened in May of 2019 in this field, in this universe. The Oculus Quest was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And YouTube was launching a virtual reality platform. And I've always been kind of I had some like earlier versions of virtual reality cameras, like 360 cameras and stuff, but I never really did anything with them. And the kids had VR, like they had like a HTC Vive system at home that they played around with, and I would do some stuff with, but it was interesting, but it was a little clunky still. But the Oculus was interesting because Facebook now owned Oculus.
Right.
And so it was like, oh, this is going to become more. This is going to become like
it's going to be a thing.
Yeah, it's going to be a more adopted technology, and so there's going to be more stuff here. And like, wouldn't it be cool if I could capture these moments like in like 360?
Mm-hmm.
That would be pretty cool. And then I started going down that rabbit hole. I'm like, oh, but what would also be cool is if we could also capture like the 3-dimensional sound, because that was something else I was really into. Like even in the 80s, I would have I had a couple of cassette tapes that were 3D sound, and you listen to it and it's like, the barbershop thing, they're cutting the hair and you gotta put the bag over your head and there's the thing. Like, I love that stuff. Loved it. And I was like, can I do this? Is it possible? Yeah. It turns out it is. And there's just not a lot of people who are doing it. Mm-hmm. And so that's how this all started. It was this me saying like, oh, I'm going to capture these moments and I'm going to try to make it, get as close as possible to like being here.
Yeah.
Right. So you can feel like you're here. But the reason the stuff I do isn't just all like 360 virtual reality is that most people don't have access to that kind of equipment. And even me, like, I mean, I might go weeks before I put a VR headset on my head because it's a whole thing. It's like, oh, I got to get this out. And
you're not just pulling your phone out of your pocket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, and this is all about me, obviously, right? So like, this is for me, I'm thinking, well, I would want to be able to access this stuff whenever. And I want it to be available to people if they want to watch it on television, or if they want to watch it on their computer or on their phone or whatever. Like that's how the Here with the Magic thing kind of was born, was out of this idea of, I'm just going to capture as many of these moments as I possibly can. And then, I don't know, we'll see if people are interested in them.
Yeah.
That's it.
And this is, so when you, okay, so like your first one roughly is May of 19.
The end of May of 19 is when I filmed the one. There's a 360 video film that I've never released, and I never will. I'll show it to you one day. Well, here so there's like, I can count on one hand the number of people who have seen it in 360 mode, and that includes myself and Lisa Denota Glassner of Castle Run, and Lou Mangello, and maybe a couple other people who, because it was just like a prototype thing, right, that I did. I wanted something to take with me to the retreat, to the Momentum retreat, the weekend retreat. Yeah, here's your prototype. And but it's awkward because, you know, I'm sitting on the mirror. Maybe I was standing. I was like standing. I'm like standing right behind the camera. So if you're and I'm like standing kind of over the camera. So like if you one view is very much just you. One view is, it's gorgeous. Like you're sitting on that bench up at Sunset Point, overlooking the bungalows and Seven Seas Lagoon. You can see the castle in the background. It's wonderful. Birds chirping, the music's going. You're like, this is great. And then you turn around. And there's Jason. And he scratches his belly. Like and if you're not expecting that, you just turn around. Yeah, it's awkward and not great. So yeah, I never really released that. But I did release a non 360 version of that, actually. But so that's there. But yeah, that's and I started doing them, and I kept doing them. And I worked with Lou as a mentor in terms of helping me figure out like how I should kind of get stuff going, and and that was all happening. And then and at first I was producing. This is crazy. You're gonna think this is nuts. Or maybe you won't. I was producing 3 videos per week. Wow. So this is like 3 full, like, you know, and these were 15-minute long, 20-minute long, 360 or sometimes the 3D 180 VR videos per week. And you know what the processing time is on those things. I mean, it's like, it would take me 8 hours to process it and another 10 hours to upload it. And it was crazy. And so I was, your computer sounded like a Boeing about to ready to take off. Yeah, it was like, I ended up using like a separate computer just to like have that stuff happening, because I had to work. Well, I can't use this computer to work. So that was just happening. And I was doing it 3 times a week. And then finally I was like, I can't do this 3 times a week. This is crazy. I'll just do it like twice a week and then once a week. But I quickly got to, 100 plus videos. I mean, pretty quick, because I was just doing so many of them so fast. And that was going great. And then March 2020 rolls around and we're all told that the parks are going to close, and they're going to close for 2 weeks. And I remember freaking out. Like, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do for material for 2 weeks? Like, I was, at that point, I didn't have the pipeline that I once had. If I didn't film that week, and it's like kind of, if you didn't kill, you weren't eating kind of thing. Like if I didn't film, I didn't have anything to put out there really. Yeah. And so I did have to kind of dig into my material. Okay, what haven't I used? Right. But then the park stayed closed. And the park stayed closed. And the park stayed closed. And then that's when, and it was Lou who said, I think you should do like a lunchtime show. And just like a watch party, and just invite people to watch videos with you. Yeah. And I remember thinking, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I can't, like, for number one, up until that point, my personality was not, no one even knew I existed. Mm-hmm. There's nothing about me. There still isn't. If you go to the website, there's nothing about me. is not about me. It's about the places. It's about the feeling. It's about,
Right.
that. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I like this at all.
So the world is shut down. You've got
Mhm.
this backlog of video, and your thoughts are, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do I do with this?
Yeah, well, Lou told me, he's like, you gotta, you should do that. But you should consider doing like a lunchtime show. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And so, Lou, he's like, oh, it's easy, blah, 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 because he's, I've been doing it for 1600 years. So of course it's easy. But like, so God, how do you go about making an earth? And it's like, well, it's easy. You just take a little of this and a little of that. And say, you're fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And he did show me, he spent like 7 minutes showing me his eCam setup, which I am eternally grateful for, because I don't think there's any way I could have ever figured that out otherwise. And then I did it, and it was fine. And people showed up. But I of course, because it's me, I'm just going to do this 5 days a week.
Yeah.
5 days a week.
So
every weekday at 12 p.m. I'm going to do this from my guest room at home, and that's what we're going to do.
We're going to take a break right there, but be sure to check out part 2 of my conversation with Jason on the next episode. In the meantime, please be sure to check out everything Jason is involved in by searching for Here with the Magic on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Want more of The Zach Brown Show? Well, check out the entire backlog of episodes on your favorite streaming service. You can also follow along on Instagram and give us a like on Facebook. I'll post behind-the-scenes pictures and updates on all the latest episodes. So like, follow, comment, and subscribe. And if you're enjoying the show, I'd very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to leave a review in iTunes. They're very helpful in getting the show to more listeners, and that's pretty cool. I'm Zach Brown, and I want you to remember, you have everything you need to make someone's day a little better. Have a good one.